This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 83. I am Ruckus, always customer Ruckus.
And I'm Spat the Menace.
And on this episode, we'll be talking about our starting lineup like we usually do. The good, bad, and the ugly. The high heat for week 18, or week... Is it week 18 or 17?
It's week 18. I forgot to push that.
Yay, I was paying attention for once. Alright, back on to it. Film room with the first wild card round stuff. Then we have our fantasy team playoff challenge again for this weekend, and our color commentary. And Spennis, how are we doing?
We're getting all set here. We are primed and ready for you guys this weekend as the Jacksonville Jaguars will be going through the conclusion of my end of our Super Bowl race. As I will have my video airing on Friday. And we will find out if it is do or die against the Dallas Cowboys.
So the way we're gonna the way this timeline's gonna be is this week it's only going to be Spennis's Super Bowl race video, and then the next week after that I will have my Super Bowl race video premiere. We will still be doing the premieres. It's just gonna be one Super Bowl race video for Spennis this week, and then to finish it off, I'll do it the next week after that.
It will be my conclusion, then Ruckus's conclusion. So Ruckus is concluding the whole series with kind of his following, with picked up a huge amount of the viewer base around like the middle of the season when mine started to kind of like wear down, but I still ended up with a few bangers every now and again. Just a matter of really which ones were kind of on the banger list. I think for me this week, Night of Sweet Revenge was kind of a banger considering. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Do or Die is going to look like.
That's for sure.
Although I already know what happens.
Yeah.
Y'all don't.
Anyways, so do you want me to get started with this episode with the baseball news? Or were you
depending
thinking?
on when this releases, later on, or kind of roughly around the same time that this also airs, I will be on a guest spot or preparing for a guest spot with our boys Lam and Mac on Two Nerds in a Pod tomorrow night, or at least the night that this releases, as the major topic of discussion is about the AAA games and really double and AAA games in a sense, like the indies that aren't quite necessarily, or the high end indies and the AAAs. As far as recognizing 2023's best. And I am giving Ruckus absolutely zero spoilers about this episode and what may entail. He's going to have to watch this live. It'll be live on twitch.tv/2nerds in a pod at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 Central. Or it will be out within the next couple of days after when math edits. So I'll have a little bit of extra work to do to get things Mac's way. But
Yep. Also, big shout out to Nerds.
yes, they are some dear friends of ours. They're some dear friends of ours. Lom has been on. Lom has been on. Mac has not, but not for without a good reason.
Yeah.
But overall, it's been one heck of a journey, and it's almost been 2 years. And we will definitely have something kind of set out for us for the 2 year period because it's going to be right around tournament time for college basketball. So
Yep.
that'll be exciting.
The madness begins in 2 months.
Yep. But with all of this, we can go right into our starting lineup. And I will let Ruckus kick it off with the baseball moves we have going on. And then
All right.
I will conclude with some non-baseball related pieces, or if we want to kind of just alternate off.
All right. I'll just quickly go through the MLB stuff. So, what happened in the past week with free agency moves and trades? So I'll start with a trade, and that is Robbie Ray to the Giants for former favorite Mariners player, now again a Mariners player, Mitch Haniger, is going back to the Mariners along with Anthony Descalfani.
And $6 million of straight cash, homie.
Is that with Dr. Evil with his pinky going to his mouth? $6 million. Because it's usually 1 million or 1 billion.
Did you not catch what I said at the end of that? I said straight cash, homie. Yeah, are you now picking up where I went?
Yes.
And that is gonna be there is a bookend that I'm gonna have with this that'll kind of cement this up. If you want to catch that, just keep listening. We'll catch on.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Next, on the plate, center fielder Harrison Bader is now going to the New York Mets in a 1 year, $10.5 million contract. And then I believe we have Sean Manaea also going to the Mets. Yeah. And then Teoscar Hernandez to the Dodgers for 1 year, $21.5 million.
I am going to boo that so hard because Teoscar Hernandez to the Dodgers. It's not like the Dodgers don't already have enough firepower as it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're still boostering it. I don't see a problem with that. I'm surprised they didn't get Cody Bellinger yet, but I think his agent's probably asking too high of a price.
I think Bellinger is looking at I think he might be looking at the 200 mil. I think it might be 200 mil is, I think, the contract, but I wouldn't have even considered Bellinger going back to the Dodgers at that point.
And then Zach Plesac signs with the Angels. Former Guardians pitcher signs a 1 year, $1 million contract. Austin Nola signs with the Brewers on a minor league deal worth up to barely $1 million if he makes the team, which he probably will. And then the Cardinals hire Shane Bloom as an advisor. And then the last bit of sports news that is kind of a somber one, or really just a homage. Michael Brantley retires after a 15-year career, playing both for the Cleveland Indians / Guardians, and then was signed to the Houston Astros and played the rest of his career out there.
Now, I will have one thing to say about the Chaim Bloom thing. good luck to whoever is the advisor, or to whoever he is
Oh, did I
advising
say
there.
Chain Bloom?
Yeah, you did. It's time. But good luck to anyone who is dealing with this, because he has some sort of logic that perplexes a team's fan base. I mean, are there times where the logic seems like it's there? Yes. But there are more times whenever I was seeing deals come from Chaim Bloom when he was in a member of the Red Sox, and you're just thinking, huh? Why? Why are we doing this? We kind of needed to hang on to this person, or we needed to. It And honestly, I don't think the Cardinals are an appropriate fit for Chaim Bloom, because the Cardinals technically are one of baseball's like main major franchises in history.
Yeah.
They're kind of a team that is more willing to say put money out there for players. And Chaim Bloom has a philosophy that is counterintuitive to that. He's almost better going to a team like Miami, or probably going back to Tampa Bay, or pursuing that team in Vegas. Probably one of those teams that don't like to spend money, or do a whole bunch of philosophy with not having to spend a lot of money, or not
Um,
having a whole lot of money to spend.
yeah. All right. Dennis, what else do we got?
All right. In college football, although we are dealing with the national championship in FBS, we now have the results of the FCS national championship, as the South Dakota State Jackrabbits defeated Montana for the national championship there. Of course, a famous South Dakota State Jackrabbit in NFL history, Adam Vinatieri. And then a long-standing partnership that probably has been probably been around as long as Ruckus has been alive, if not longer, just a little bit longer.
Just a little bit.
Tiger Woods is no longer partnered with Nike. After 27 years, the partnership has ended. I mean, this could be considered like a good, a bad, an ugly type thing, and I think it's just Tiger Woods is not performing, or it's kind of like ran its course.
Yep.
But I am surprised that Nike did not drop him back when the infidelity issues started.
Yep.
Years ago.
Yeah. And I was surprised that well, I wasn't really terribly surprised with the first time. I was surprised that all that stuff was going on. The second time he had a car crash, I was like, uh-oh, here we go again. But turns out it wasn't for that same reason.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the good, the bad, and the ugly, are we ready?
Yep, for the Eastwood segment, roll it there, Ruckus.
All right, all right, all right. What is good in sports this week, Mr. Spennis?
Well, Mr. McConaughey, what's good in sports this week is dealing with NFL rookies concluding great seasons. Although some of them had to be done due to injury, or end due to injury, thanks to Sam Laporta. But Sam Laporta setting rookie tight end records. Puka Nakua setting the wide receiver marks, and shortly after Sean McVay sees this happen, says, "Get him out." And then C.J. Stroud. We'll talk about this a little bit more in the high heat in some further detail. But C.J. Stroud leading the Houston Texans to the AFC South crown
You should
and
have
living to
also.
fight at least for one more game.
Well, don't count out D'Amico Ryans either. He's the one that helped C.J. Stroud lead the Texans to the AFC South crown.
Yeah, But I'm saying that Stroud as the rookie and the quarterback of the franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, D'Amico Ryans as a coach, yes. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about that later. I was mentioning the Stroud thing because Stroud's been doing his thing.
There's a sniper in the building.
I know we were talking about that earlier in the pre-show, but that wasn't necessarily where that was going at all.
That's okay.
And the bad in sports this week goes to the Roomba. Allegiant Stadium and their turf. Following a season of hard play, there was a shot that there somehow was a camera shot. I don't know if it was actually in a live game or kind of just something that somebody took behind the scenes. But if you saw that shot, Ruckus, that field looked like it got chewed up, spit out, regurgitated again, spit out again, and then chewed up one last time.
All right, I'm looking at the post on X, and for you guys at listening, I will have it on video for the podcast, and it's looking pretty damn rough.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, is it kind of basically how I verbally illustrated it?
Yeah, it's also kind of like whenever you get a t-shirt from China and then you wash it several times, like the colors start to fade away. That's like literally the end zone for the Raiders. Like it looks like Spence said, like garbage. Yikes. Dude.
It looked like it never got maintained. It's like as if there was no maintenance done to it at all. This is why so many people want the fields to go back to real grass.
If I'm gonna be honest with you, isn't this kind of like how the Raiders past couple seasons have been illustrated in a sense? Just not well maintained at all.
Wasn't going to go there.
But I did. You're welcome. All right.
That's Ruckus is a Chiefs fan for you.
Well, not only that, it's just like, gee whiz, man. Take care of your field. Anyways, what is the downright ugly?
The downright ugly. The Patriots may have, and this is clearly on speculation, but due to the indecision of future plans yet for Bill Belichick and him still being under contract, the Patriots went through a premature detonation of a tribute video for Bill Belichick. Granted, this was played before the start of the matchup between the Patriots and the Jets, which that also, if you know your Bill Belichick trivia, is also a story of bad blood. In a sense of that how the Patriots ended up getting him. He resigned from the Jets coaching job after only 1 day as a Jets coach to accept the New England Patriots job. Yes, you heard this right. He basically left the Jets after probably not even 24 hours and took the job that he's at now. So basically, he's already generically been giving the Jets the middle finger since 2000. Yes, I said it.
I mean, in a sense, the Jets give him back a middle finger following that win against the Patriots.
Well, not enough times. Not enough times. Bill Belichick's been doing it for 24 years. but that is neither here nor there. The Patriots did lose that game to the Jets. That recent large losing streak is done. But Bill Belichick may not, because the future plans that he had have not really officially been decided because he is still under contract.
Yes, sir.
Why would you do this, New England? Especially if you knew that he was under contract for one more year with the potential to come back or some other decision along the way. Why?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just thought that was a weird one. All right, our high heat week 18
We are
recap.
recapping the final week of the regular season. And we are going to get right to it with Saturday night. Although Elton John would say that is all right for fighting, we
You mean
hear
Elton John? That
Elton
sounded like
John wrote that song. Elton John wrote that song. Or
I thought
Elton
you said
John.
Elton. I thought you said Elton John. My bad. I was like, what?
I said Elton John.
Okay,
I said Elton John. I
it's
knew
all
what I
good.
said. But in this case, Saturday night was all right for the Houston Texans as they defeated the Indianapolis Colts 23-19.
We got a 23-19. We got a 23-19. Sorry, Monsters Inc. reference.
I knew where you were going with that. And the question for this particular thing, running along with what we had about In Our Good, does the Texans winning their division further cement the cases for either C.J. Stroud in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race or D'Amico Ryans in the NFL Coach of the Year race? So basically for NFL honors, does this result help bolster the cases for Stroud or Ryans?
I think it definitely shows that D'Amico Ryans is a candidate for NFL honors for Coach of the Year, possibly. He or at least a um surprise candidate compared to like MCDC, but or
Well,
yeah.
I think we guarantee ourselves with at least a grand total of 5 nominees for NFL Coach of the Year. They are the two obvious ones in John Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan. MCDC, Mike McDaniel, and D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans has surged up this board with all of a matter of 1 year. But MCDC, who's now finally taken the Lions, finally completed another step of the climb. And this climb leading to the first time the Lions have won the division and getting to host a playoff game in their history. I mean, you have John Harbaugh, who's kind of been up there consistently for a good amount of time. Kyle Shanahan coaching the best team in the league. But then you have Mike McDaniel, who is probably the most creative coach and kind of the coach that everyone is gravitating to as a mood or as a spirit animal in certain cases. In that Mike McDaniel is just such a coach that has gotten the biggest amount of potential out of players. And Dan Campbell is someone who you could rally around too. I mean, MCDC there as well. So, I mean, we have 5 legitimate cases, and it all comes down to a lot of voting and where the votes fall. Are they going to go for best records or really amazing efforts in terms of a season? Now, as far as CJ Stroud, I believe his case has been bolstered further. However, more contenders have come along. I think you could make an argument for a couple of others to get along and compete with Stroud. Devon Achane. He missed a significant amount of time, but has still been able to run the ball well. Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, who has done all of this stuff as a wide receiver. And Sam Laporta at the tight end spot. How often do you really see a tight end come in and thrive as a rookie?
Very rarely.
You don't. You just don't. Tight end is a very, very intricate position. I mean, they have tight end university for a reason. George Kittle and Travis Kelce and all these people behind it. I think it's Kittle who's kind of the spearheader of tight end U.
Yep.
And it's basically just this like symposium for tight ends, for players that want to play the tight end position or are playing in the tight end position in the NFL to continue to find ways to hone their craft. And it's another reason why I love George Kittle. But it's also another reason that the tight end position is so appealing and such an attractive position in the NFL that we're seeing so many players get better at it. Because the position has evolved to the point that it becomes like a secondary receiver, like another fullback, or an extra blocker. There's so many tools that a tight end has, and that's why they can't develop right away as easily as Sam Laporta did. There's arguments for all sides. It's just a matter of where the voting leads you.
Yep.
And if anyone out there that has a NFL honors vote is listening to this, which they probably aren't, but if you're listening to this right now, just definitely consider a lot of the unprecedented. I mean, CJ Stroud obviously there, but I would almost say my vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year is probably going to go to Sam Laporta.
Yeah.
Just because you just don't get this out of a tight end as a rookie.
Yeah. All right. Next one.
Now, Saints 48, Falcons 17. This has its own weirdness to it that we're going to be talking about here later. But was Arthur Smith in the right to go after Dennis Allen for supposedly running up the score? And this I
Yes.
actually need to change. And this is where I honestly need to put an honorable mention for a dud.
So I think he was in the right because, as far as respect goes, the Saints didn't really give much respect to the Falcons. When it came to that, there were, I think Shannon Sharp said that he would have cut Jameis Winston right then and there for doing that kind of thing, or he was just visibly upset. I don't know. But a lot of people were thinking that famous Jameis was just kind of went a little too far there. Other than that, I mean, when you play like pardon my French, dog shit against a Saints team like that and get beat by 31 points, things
That
like
is why
that are
your
gonna
pick slip
happen.
has been handed to you. Giving up 31 points in the second half while scoring a big old Krispy Kreme.
Yep.
You were outscored 31-0 in the second half. You got the crap kicked out of you. You didn't even make it 10 minutes into Black Monday before all of a sudden your pink slip was handed to you.
And his mustache was ripped off.
The mustache was already shaved off before the game. His mustache,
They took his dignity.
For the game. He was clean shaven for the game.
They took his dignity. They said, "Sorry, man. If you're gonna stay on this team, you're gonna have to shave off the stash." And then he's like, "Okay." And then all of a sudden, gone.
Oh man! Unfortunately, I think that Arthur Smith was shooting.
It's like the Liberty Bibberty commercial where he's like, he doesn't even have a mustache, and then he haphazardly puts a mustache on him.
Oh my goodness! But I do think that for the situation that was at hand, and I will mention what that situation was later, as it involves a future thing, but I think that he was right to go after Dennis Allen for that. But if you can't stop him, you can't stop him. The only way you're going to stop the score being run up on you is to stop him.
He won't stop.
But at the same time, respecting the game is a little different. And I think Dennis Allen, eventually his seat's going to be a little warmer coming into that. But I don't think that was Dennis Allen's fault, because I think, yes, ultimately Jameis Winston is probably going to get released or traded away. Because that's just wrong.
Not cool. All right, Titans Jacksonville.
Titans 28, Jacksonville 20. And the question here, and it's a twofold one. We will look at this probably talking about the first one here. What was the key factor to the Jaguars' collapse? And I think
Sean Murphy Bunting.
I am actually going to say this in a matter of one simple word. Injuries.
That too.
Injuries to major components of the offense, and especially the offense. Although the defense probably had its share, the offense was probably the area that got affected the most. The health of Trevor Lawrence. The Christian Kirk, being able to have him available. The best ability apparently was availability, and Christian Kirk, especially down the stretch, was unavailable. But that defense also was playing like as if, not really like they were AWOL, but maybe more so MIA. Like they didn't basically like go and be absent without leave.
But also another key factor.
Missing in action. They were just missing in action.
Another key factor, I think, also is Trevor Lawrence didn't have his best game either. He was intercepted multiple times. And one of those guys I was just talking about was Sean Murphy Bunting that picked him off.
Yeah, I knew you were probably going to go with Sean Murphy Bunting for the pick, but I was saying that before the Titans game even occurred, and I'm talking like kind of the lead up, injuries were the ultimate thing that I think held the Jaguars down. Because that extra weapon would have been nice for Trevor Lawrence to have available to him. But also, I will say the lack of a true commitment to investing into the running game with Travis Etienne. The lack of truly going to control the clock a little bit more. I think that they needed to go back to more West Coast elements with that offense, especially the way that it was. Though it was nice to have some good vertical work, I found myself, and you know what's weird? This was also my experience with it playing Madden. I was rallying and running scores a lot higher offensively when I was taking the smaller stuff, running the crossing pattern, running the little mesh concepts and crossing patterns, and working the ball a little more underneath and taking what the defense gives you. Not everything has to be a straight vertical down the field. Not everything has to be so deep that you have a chance of it being intercepted, basically like a yeet punt. But the second part of this question is involved on the Titan side. Has Derrick Henry played his final game in Nashville as a Tennessee Titan?
Most likely yes, if they want a cheaper option at running back, because you have Spears as a guy that could replace Derrick Henry, and I don't know what the actual identity right now is for the Titans, but I think they also possibly get rid of Tannehill as well. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That is a very tricky question because it could revolve into, okay, maybe Derrick Henry still is the soul of the Titans because he still can produce. He showed that in this game against the Jaguars, and I think in general you would probably sign him to a team friendly deal, and if he doesn't want that and he walks away, then there you have it. But I don't know. Derrick Henry has just been kind of a hit or miss, but also the Titans' offense has been a hit or miss. If we're going to be play devil's advocate on this,
I do agree that Derrick Henry may have played his final game as a Titan. He'll hit free agency. He probably will not get signed.
he didn't have a tribute video though.
Yeah, but I think they allowed him an opportunity to thank the fan base after the game.
All right.
But
John, go ahead.
where I'm going with this is that yes, if they want a cheaper option, yes, Derrick Henry has played his final game as a Titan. If they want to kind of continue to make Derrick Henry the heart and soul, Derrick Henry will remain a Titan. If they want to try and change the identity, it is going to have to involve a firing of Mike Vrabel, because Vrabel, I swear he favors that run game.
Also, Derrick Henry just turned 30 about 4 days ago, so there's that too.
Yes. And that side of it, there are very few players that also thrive as runners after the 30s, in their career, especially with the volume load that Derrick Henry has. 30 for a running back at this point in the NFL is ancient. It's dinosaur.
It
It's
belongs in
dinosaur
the
time.
Smithsonian.
Yes. So, with that said, I believe that the last running back that kind of had a decent amount of rushing past their third or in their 30s, Adrian Peterson. I think Frank Gore was another one as well,
Yep.
and they both kind of had a little bit more of like a Gore, maybe a little more like Henry in that bruiser running style.
Yeah. What about LaShawn
But
McCoy? Could we argue that too, or because his was more of a shady?
I don't think you could. I don't think you could argue shady. I don't think you could argue shady for that. I think that shady after a good bit, was nowhere near as prominent. Like, nowhere. Like, I couldn't give you any relevance on LaShawn McCoy.
His last
However,
game was in 2020, I believe. So
yeah.
if you did 2020 minus 1988, it probably gets you
I mean, it's
somewhere.
about 32, but I think Adrian Peterson, of course, played into a decent amount of his 30s.
Yeah. Former Boomer Sooner, by the way. Anyways.
Oh yeah, but that neither here nor there. But the next one we're talking about here is Giants 27, Eagles 10, stunning them. But the real question here is on the Eagles. Does limping into the playoffs help or hurt the Eagles' chances of making it back to the Super Bowl?
I think this is kind of like the same question you would probably ask about the Chiefs in a sense, because these two teams are both in the Super Bowl last year, obviously with the Kelsey Bowl. But I think the Eagles currently right now are looking a lot iffier in a sense, but I think they're a bit of a shell of themselves, but they could also pull a sneaky on whoever they face in the playoffs. And I
They
think
get
it's
the
the
Tampa Bay Buccaneers next.
yep.
They
And
get
I don't know how they've been against the Buccaneers this season, or if they've even played them, but probably good chances of winning there. And do they play at the Link or do they play at
it is at Raymond James Stadium
ooh
because
uh
the Eagles are the 5.
all right. Yeah, I think them limping into the playoffs kind of hurts them a little bit, but I don't know if they make it to the Super Bowl. We'll see what how their defense goes and offense as a whole, but I mean, they looked lost against the Giants, obviously. A
I will
team that they
say
should have
this:
beat.
if anything, this puts the fear of God in them. This puts the fear of God in them, saying, "Oh, it's time it's time to get right." And this game against the Giants was supposed to be a get right game, and they blew it. But also, injuries are starting to catch up with them a little more in certain areas. But also that somehow the changes that they had made in letting some certain guys go, CJ Gardner Johnson most notably, has been something that has kind of hurt them a little more. Unlike the Chiefs, who we will talk about their opponent here a little later, in that the Eagles' injury bug may be able to be worked around a little bit more so. But I do believe that it ultimately can hurt them. But depending on situations, it may be a little more of a help than we think it is.
Yeah.
The
All right.
next one here is Cowboys 38, Commanders 10. Have the Cowboys shown enough to say they are a Super Bowl contender? My answer
Possibly
to this is that it is possible, but no.
they
Possible,
need
but
to.
possible, but no.
Do they get home field advantage though throughout the playoffs?
They will have home field for yeah, they'll have home field all the way up to the NFC Championship game unless the Niners make it all the way through. They are the 2 seed.
Which is more than likely going to be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Cowboys Niners in the NFC Championship, but we'll see. Can't count our chickens before they hatch, but we can predict the
I think the line
possibilities.
I think that the Cowboys have shown a little too much that teams can beat them. Also known as the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Like, if you're showing that you're a Super Bowl contender and really looking like you're going to win a Lombardi trophy, though the Lions are good, you got to be a little more dominant. You kind of got to assert yourself. And they probably should not have had that game. So the Lions very well could have been in their position. And probably should have been. So I think it's like they've shown enough to be kind of right there in the mix, but I don't think that they're truly a Super Bowl like winning contender at this point. And the last one here is Bills 21, Dolphins 14. Ruckus gets his dream scenario for the Chiefs as they take on the Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
However, for our aquatic mammal friends and Mike McDaniel, some injuries that have been piling up over the last couple of weeks have kind of affected them. And the question is now this injury bug that they've had, with now having Waddle miss some time, Bradley Chubb could be out for the season, and a few other major injuries, especially in their linebacking core.
You mean is gone for the season? Because he tore his ACL?
Yeah, I was working toward that.
I mean, he's no Phillip Rivers, okay?
Beside the point. But has the bug of injuries finally caught up to finally catching up to the Dolphins?
Yes, definitely, for sure. Bradley Chubb being out, definitely hurts their chances on their pass rush a little bit. And, I believe it was it Jalen Phillips or...
It was one of those two.
Someone with the last name of Phillips,
I think they lost like 3 linebackers in total.
Also, Van Ginkel was possibly questionable. He had an MRI or is getting an MRI on his knee, and they said that the X-rays are negative today. So time will tell on that. But he was the backup for another linebacker they had, and I think that was Phillips I was just talking about.
Yeah.
And with that, they're very short on linebackers, and this kind of helps the Chiefs in a sense where they don't have to worry as much on the pass rush. But they still have Melvin Ingram, which I don't know how much of a help he is nowadays with him getting up in age in his 30s. But time will tell.
Yeah, but it sometimes could be the system that benefits them. And that may be all it takes. But speaking of that, we definitely want to get into the film room this week because we are going to be making some predictions. And the question is, we're going to start with the AFC because the first couple of games are going to be on that slate. And we're going to start with the 5-pointer Saturday at 4:30. Houston at Cleveland. The Texans and the Browns.
Okay, my bad. I think it's going to be the Texans that beat the Browns. I think they take that momentum and they bring it to where it hurts on the Browns because the Browns have the dumbest bad luck out of all the NFL teams that exist on this planet Earth. And then Chiefs Dolphins. I'm gonna go Chiefs because I think so. Here's the bottom line, and I'm gonna keep this short and to the point. Dolphins have had a record of 1-5 when they play games in the frigid cold, or what Floridians call under 40 degrees. Sorry, not sorry. And then that and their team is beat up. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a very close game nonetheless, but Chiefs over Dolphins.
All right. So for these two games on Saturday, I am taking the Cleveland Browns against the Texans because Joe Flacco has a lot more playoff experience than a CJ Stroud. The Texans are still young. So I think a little bit of playoff inexperience is going to be to their detriment. And if Joe Flacco is especially being able to play with Amari Cooper, Flacco is going to be able to get yards. And I think that the Browns defense will be able to put a little bit more of a check onto Stroud as playoff football changes levels. The level changes this week. And I also, because the injury bug is hurting the Dolphins a little more than what we thought, I too am going to take the Chiefs barely. It will be close. It will be low scoring. But it will be an entertaining game.
Yep.
And we will go now to the Sunday game at 1:00 with the Bills and the Steelers.
I'm going to pick the Bills because straight up, I think the Steelers defense is definitely going to be beat up, and I don't know how close TJ Watt is to becoming game ready with the his MCL sprain, I believe he got, or some ankle injury of some sort. We'll just see how things go with that, but I think the Bills have the better advantage with their defense and their offense with playoff Lenny in attendance. And of course Josh Allen, but come on. Playoff Lenny.
Yes. I am taking the Bills as well in that matchup.
All right.
And that is because I am looking at the consideration of playoff Lenny, but I also feel that the Steelers just kind of fell into this spot. And the Bills have been playing like they want it. They have been playing with a greater sense of urgency than what was prepared weeks ago for that. The next one here is the Cowboys and the Packers.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be a Jerry World scenario, so it's going to be them Cowboys.
I am taking the Cowboys as well.
And then Rams.
I'm taking the Cowboys as well because I don't think Jordan Love is ready. And Rams Lions, I am taking the Lions at home.
I think the Lions are going to come through as well against the Rams because.
And I would love to see that rematch of the Lions and the Cowboys and hopefully see the Lions beat them.
And then Bucks Eagles
at Raymond James Stadium. I think somehow the Eagles will hold it together. They'll get right for this one. But unfortunately,
go ahead.
But unfortunately, I think that San Francisco is going to be too large of a hill to climb for them later on.
I think the Bucks upset the Eagles at home as they had the home field advantage, and the Eagles do not have home field advantage.
Even with a banged up Baker Mayfield.
He's got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rachaad White.
A banged up Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Tampa Bay has kind of been able to hold their own with their defense.
Jalen Hurts also banged up.
Yeah. But I would rather at this point take Jalen Hurts banged up than Baker Mayfield banged up, because the Eagles defense will figure out a way to apply pressure and hit Baker where it hurts. So I think I'm going to take the Eagles in this one, just simply on the basis of I just don't think the Bucks are ready.
Yep.
And
All
now
right.
the fantasy football playoff challenge. We are playing under the same rules scoring wise. Any fumble recovery, including block punts, is 2 points. So block punt is also 2 points. Um, we are looking at this, and it will run under the same concept, except that any player advancing to the next round will get double their score in the division round only if they remain in your lineup. So, Ruckus, at quarterback, you are taking
Josh Allen.
You make my decision a little difficult.
I mean, why is that? You could put Jalen Hurts
Uh,
in there. You could do Patrick Mahomes. You can do.
yeah, here we go. I'm taking Dak Prescott.
All right, running back. I'm gonna go with my fan favorite Isaiah Pacheco.
You are taking Isaiah Pacheco. Ooh. Do I take a lion, or do I take a bill? Do I take a lion, do I take a bill, or do I take the Bucks? So I am looking at the following running backs. I am between David Montgomery, James Cook, and Rashad White. But because we are playing PPR, I am going to take Rashad White here. Wide receiver.
My first wide receiver.
I'm going to take this one so that you don't. I'm taking CD Lamb.
Oh, you know me too well.
I'm taking CD Lamb.
I'm gonna take Brandon Ayuk.
Ruckus,
Yo.
you're
Oh,
around too far up.
never mind.
You're gonna end up scoring a 0 if you take Ayuk there. Just so you're aware.
Okay, so
Sorry, I'm gonna steal it. I'm taking CD Lamb and Tyreek Hill here for my 2 wide receivers.
all right. Wide receiver for me, I think one's gonna be Rashee Rice, and
Okay.
then the other is going to be um. I think it's gonna be. I don't want to do Amon Ra.
I'm willing to give you Tyreek Hill, and I will take Amon Ra.
Sure. Let's do that.
Yep. All right. So I think I am going to take Amon Ra St. Brown.
And then tight end. So Jake Ferguson for me, right? Or is that is it?
Do you want Ferguson, or do you want? There's a couple of others you can consider.
Dalton Kincaid or Travis Kelsey
You
or
have
Peter
Kelsey.
Fairmouth. But Kelsey's been like really like.
You have Kelsey. You have Kelsey. You have Firemouth. You have Kincaid. I mean, I think Dawson Knox might be healthy enough. You have. I think you've got Luke Musgrave as well with Green Bay if he's healthy. You've got Dallas Goddard.
He's been kind of shoddy though with
Dallas
the elbow.
Goddard. Well, he dealt with a broken arm for a good bit. Who else? K-Dot. So,
Well, there's also Ninjoku.
yeah, you do have David Njoku, and you have Dalton Schultz as an option. And I also forgot that we also had the possibility of Nico Collins for receivers.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the fan favorite Travis Kelsey. I'm gonna go with that, and then my
I
flex.
talked you out of it. I talked you out of it.
Well,
I'm taking Jake Ferguson.
and then my flex.
I talked you out of that because otherwise, had he not gotten hurt, I probably would have taken Sam Laporta here, but Ferguson is healthy right now. Laporta's hurt. And now to your flex.
um.
I've realized that I had forgotten Miami's running backs. Probably because it was the Chiefs' rushing attack.
Well, Mostert's probably more than likely out, or a game time decision. You still have Devon Achan.
Yeah, so there is still Devon Achan.
As far as other running backs, you have LaMichael Pirine for the Chiefs,
You have the
and
possibility. There is the possibility of DeAndre Swift.
I was kind of second guessing that because I was like, well,
But I am going to go with David Montgomery of the Lions. I'm going with Monty. And then I'm going to take Brandon Aubrey.
with my kicker, I'm gonna take Harrison Butker again.
All right. You're going to take Butker. I figured you would have taken Butker, so I'm going to take Aubrey.
Defense and special teams. I'm gonna take the Chiefs.
Don't forget your flex.
I know. I'm trying to figure that out. My defense is gonna be the Chiefs.
So I am between because
my
you have left me options. And you have left me probably the ultimate option. As much as I don't like doing this and having a whole bunch of Cowboys, I am taking Cowboys.
My flex is gonna be Mike Evans.
Yeah. Oh wow, so you're going with a wide receiver as a flex. Interesting choice.
Yep.
Yep. And so what this will be is that we will have these players we'll have these players as our wild card weekend picks. We will go through and score them. If they advance, it is regular. These are all under one-time scoring. If they advance, they will be under two-time scoring in the next round. So the divisional, if Dak Prescott makes it there, Dak Prescott will get double the points for me so long as I keep him there. If a player gets eliminated, you lose him. You have to replace him at one-time scoring. If you change out a player and want to move back to that player in the next round, you do not keep the double scoring. Them's the rules.
Okay. All right.
And now, where did it go? All right, there it is. All right, so now we go into, since we've dealt with the players that did and teams that did make it to the playoffs, now we look at some early aftermath things of teams that didn't. make the playoffs. And there are some major questions that come about. The first one involves current head coaching vacancies. You have the Raiders, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Falcons, and the Commanders as current vacancies at the head coach level. The Panthers and Commanders are kind of a little more ground up in that they both have front office vacancies. Who do you feel are some of the favorites in the head coaching searches ahead?
I don't have very many, but if I had a thought, I think the Raiders stick with Antonio Pierce if they know what's good for him.
I believe that as well. If not, Antonio Pierce is definitely going to get another job.
Yeah, and then he's gonna thrive through that. Panthers, no clue, don't care. Chargers, well, that one's up for debate as far as Belichick rumors, but we'll see. Falcons, also don't care. And then the Commanders, I think, if anything, they look for a surprise candidate. I don't know which candidate they would get, but I also think it'd be a better idea for them to give Eric Bieniemy a head coaching shot.
I believe Bieniemy will. I believe if Bieniemy will be there, I think it will be as the OC. I do not believe that Bieniemy will be the head coach because I believe that the Commanders need to be thinking forward. And Bieniemy is not necessarily a forward think. Like he's a forward thinker in terms of being able to dig deep into that playbook. But I think that but I do believe that I think that the trend for head coaches is going younger. And honestly, I think that the coach that there are two coaches that are on my radar for the Commanders, but they are going to look to go GM first. But I think if the GM kind of sees these two head coaches as possible candidates and they don't get hired before the Commanders have a chance to strike, I think they go for it. And that is Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions and Bobby Slowick of the Houston Texans. I believe that those two are also on the Panthers' radar. There are 9 candidates on the Panthers list. 9 candidates. And all of them are kind of rather legitimate as players as ones that should get some look for the most part. And they are Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. That is one that I think the Commanders should pursue. Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. I believe that Dan Quinn should get another look at a coaching job. But I believe that look is probably not going to come from Atlanta. And I think should honestly be the Carolina Panthers that should pursue Dan Quinn.
I feel like he's happy where he's at, but at the same time, I
He's
don't
happy
know.
where he's at. He's happy where he's at, but I think that the Panthers have like a good amount to offer him as far as like a chance. The Ravens defensive coordinator or the Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, the Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, and the Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales. Where going to look and see what the Commanders possibly are looking at. The Commanders have requested an interview with Bobby Slowick, which actually is a really good idea. I would love to see Bobby Slowick come back, or at least be involved, because he was also involved with that 2013 Washington team that eventually had all these coaches become head coaches. So I would say for us to finally have him come back and we get one would be huge. It would probably be the most massive thing, and I think hiring Slowick would be an amazing idea. Some people are saying that the best case scenarios involve Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Ben Johnson, and Ejiro Evero, who is for Evero, he is the defensive coordinator of the Broncos. But Ben Johnson is probably the one that I think should have a good look. But the interest on him is becoming fierce, and Ben Johnson actually turned down head coaching jobs last year to stay with Detroit.
Yeah.
I don't think the Lions will be so lucky. But I will say that I do not. The biggest thing that I want as a Commanders fan for our team is to kind of have really good, forward thinking young head coaches. As this is the trend that has been going on in the NFL. I think Bobby Slowick could be an option. I also believe that Ben Johnson should be our head coach. I think we need something that's a little more outside the box, and then let Johnson be able to bring whoever he needs to in. Maybe something with Bieniemy if it comes down to it, but I think Bieniemy is going to probably field another offer. I think he may field another offer, or the new head coach just won't want him there. And that'll put Bieniemy back in a spot where all of a sudden somebody's going to have to go pick him up. I think a team that could use a Bieniemy type might be the Atlanta Falcons.
So you're saying that you think he's going to be gone?
I do not believe that the Commander, that though Bieniemy has had some good, I think you may have to take a little more of the good with the bad, because I think that the head coach is going to have more pull on which coordinators he keeps.
Yeah. If I had my choice, I would want Bieniemy back as a Chiefs offensive coordinator and get rid of Nagy.
I think you guys are fine with Matt Nagy. You guys are fine with Matt Nagy. I think the personnel in the receiver room is not there. Like, you don't have the good-handed, sure-handed receivers like you used to.
Yep.
Rashee Rice is not a true number one. I think you guys probably look to draft one. And I think that could be an early pick. Like, maybe one of your earlier picks might be drafting a number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then the second piece is who possibly is next. Who may all of a sudden see their pink slip come a little sooner, or at least within the next couple of weeks.
I think we've already kind of answered this question already. So should we move on to
with which team? Like, who are we really saying is going to, like,
I mean, we kind of alluded to it earlier with Belichick maybe moving. We also, I mean, we just saw Ron Rivera uh, and Artie Smith get fired. I don't know if there's much else that you can really say that someone is going to get fired or not. I think.
But do you see a playoff team pulling? But with this question here, although I've alluded to it in certain regards, this question here is more so: do you see a playoff team pulling a trigger?
Oh, like firing if they lose a
Yes.
game. I think
Yes. That's where that question was going. I was leading that question in that direction, not.
I don't know what the Eagles do as far as coaching, but I don't know if that's really if it's why they were bit kind of iffy this season. I think it was more just talent on the defensive side that
I think
was
you
missing.
had coordinator changes that weren't quite as effective.
Yeah, because didn't Shane Steichen go to the Colts as a head coach?
Yes, Steichen went to the Colts. And Gannon
and they
went
were
to the
trying to get rid of him too.
Who, Steichen?
Yeah, from what I've heard.
Yeah, but Steichen has. Oh, Steichen kind of showed resilience and stuck it out. I mean, Shane Steichen, if the Colts had made the playoffs, he very well could be in that conversation for Coach of the Year. He could. For being able to turn all those lemons that he dealt with in losing Anthony Richardson to injury into a lemonade with running it with Gardner Minshew? Steichen's earned a chance for his job to stay put. Gannon, maybe not so much, but I think that in terms of the Gannon situation, we'll speak on that a little bit later because it is going to involve a question that we have later. However, I think that Dennis Allen is not necessarily off the hook. I believe that he's not off the hook. I believe that Sean McDermott is not off the hook. If the Bills don't make a deep run, I think that Tomlin has been rumored to be in the trade considerations. So Tomlin may not be off the hook as far as moving on from it. I also feel that Mike McCarthy could have his seat heat up spontaneously if the Cowboys blow this. If the Cowboys blow this and don't go to a Super Bowl, I think McCarthy could see the pink slip. So there are playoff teams that could pull a trigger if something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, I just don't really see much happening, but I could see a few of those scenarios happening.
Yes. We may not see a whole lot of them actually happen, but I'm talking about the possibilities. Like, where are the possibilities? Not so much what we feel is actually going to happen, but where are the possibilities that could abound that all of a sudden, if we see this happen, we'll either have some intrigue to talk about next week or kind of along those lines of, we weren't surprised about this.
Yeah.
And I think the Bears improved enough that Eberflus is actually safe. That I think this is the ultimate thing that we found out.
Yeah. I think we for this last killer commentary, we leave that for a future thing because this is like way far ahead into the off season here when it comes
Yeah,
to
the Bears,
picks.
Commanders, Patriots, like, and talking about the top 5 picks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that might be a little further along the way because I think we probably focus a little bit more on that on the off season, especially because there are critical decisions for each of these teams.
yeah. All right, we ready for the studs and duds and
Yep,
whatnot?
let's get to our studs and duds of the week.
All right, I will start it off. And with my stud this week, I have Chris Jones for getting his half sack in order to get the cash incentives he earned. And that cash incentive was $1.25 million. And then my dud is the Dolphins' record when in the frozen tundra, because it is true that they are 1-5 when playing in less than 40-degree weather. And I also just think that the way they played against the Bills, they kind of folded a little bit, and Tyreek is definitely beat up. So we'll see what happens in his homecoming at Arrowhead at GHA Field, and we'll see what happens there. All right,
We have a
Spence.
lot of revenge games in this playoffs that we didn't even talk about. Like, we didn't even mention that. But there are a grand total of 1, 2, 3. There are 3 in total. I mean, you have Tyreek in Kansas City and Miami, but the highlight was more so the 2 in the NFC. Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys going back to Lambeau, or actually going to Jerry World and facing the Packers. And then Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field for a playoff game against the Lions. Matt Stafford was the last quarterback to lead the Lions to the playoffs. So that I think is another thing. It really is good that the storylines kind of worked out. But my first stud this week goes to, and I'm going to put it into an honorable mention. And remember back at the beginning of the show when I said straight cash, homie? We have Randy Moss making the College Football Hall of Fame, along with Alex Smith.
Woohoo!
Yep. So, a Ute and a member of the Thundering Herd make it to the College Football Hall of Fame. And then my stud this week. An unidentified person somehow got connected into Fenway Park's Jumbotron and was playing Fortnite on the big screen. On that huge screen. It looked like it may have been a test for an esports Call of Duty event that is going to be at Fenway Park. But when the news broke about it, Blooper, the Braves mascot, was even requesting an invite to an online game with Wally, the Red Sox mascot. So they kind of had this whole story come out about this one particular circumstance. And it was stunned enough that the entertainment of seeing even the mascots get involved was kind of was cute enough.
Yeah.
The honorable mention here, although it probably more so supersedes this, is Jameis Winston. My dud is Jameis Winston for going rogue on a victory formation thing and calling it a team decision and scoring that touchdown that ultimately angered Artie Smith. I mean, granted, at the same time, yeah, if you're going to stop him, stop him. But Jameis, you gotta be smarter than that, because that not only could have backfired on you, but that also Well, it did also backfire on you because of disrespecting the coaching staff, which probably is leading to your pink slip out or you going to another team. But if you get yanked out by a release, I wouldn't be surprised if you even come back into the NFL at that rate. I think that ultimately could be something that could keep him out and blackball him.
Youch.
Yeah, it was bad enough. Like, it was bad enough. But my dud is Big Papi swinging and missing on a pitch for the gender reveal of his baby. They threw a pitch and it was clearly inside on him, which he was not known for being good at hitting. And though he was made foolish by his swing, there was a cue that all of a sudden dropped blue confetti to assume that he had even hit the ball, and showing that David Ortiz was going to have a son. So there was some good bright sides to this dud. But come on, Big Papi. We've known you for hitting all these home runs and clutch home runs at Fenway Park. You get lobbed up a softball and you swing and miss.
Well, it'd be really funny if they were playing I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw the hands in the air if you was true player. And these ladies tonight will be having my baby. Baby.
While
You're
you
welcome.
are still behind, Ruckus, take us out.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 83. This is a Ruckus and The Menace sports podcast production. I am Ruckus.
I'm Spat and Menace.
And I am being kicked out of my own podcast. Goodbye.
Deuces.